Hello guys, in this video I will take you through Kafka and BigQuery integration using BigQuery Sync Connector. Okay, so the question is why we need to integrate Kafka with BigQuery. So the first point, as we all know, BigQuery is Google's serverless enterprise-grade data warehouse, and the main goal of a data warehouse is to integrate data from different source systems and finally provide reporting capabilities on top of that integrated data. So if Kafka is one of the source systems, we would need to bring in Kafka events also into BigQuery so that we can utilize or merge those events with our best data and present the final view of the data for reporting purpose. Second point is, if you want to analyze your real-time events on a highly scalable and serverless infrastructure, and that too with familiar SQL queries, you would need some mechanism to transfer that data from Kafka cluster to BigQuery. And BigQuery connector is one of the solutions for that. Okay, now let's talk about steps we are going to perform to make this connector up and running. So first of all, we will download and set up Google BigQuery Sync connector for Kafka in the Confluent environment. And then in the second point, we will create a GCP service account and we will generate corresponding key file to make the connection with the BigQuery services. And then we will create one BigQuery dataset, and in the point 4 we will assign permission to this BigQuery dataset so that Kafka Connect application can connect to this dataset for writing the events. And in point 5 then we will configure our connector and will try to run it, and finally we will just test and validate our data. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first step is to install BigQuery Sync Connector on Confluent platform that I have installed on my machine. So before we go for installation, let's validate if that sync connector is available on the platform or not. So there are two ways we can validate. First is we can go to Confluent Control Center, and here we can check in the list of connectors if BigQuery Sync connector is available or not. So let's click here on Add Connector, and let me just filter out for syncs. So you can see we have these 4 sync connectors available on our cluster, but we don't have Google BigQuery Sync connector. Another way we can validate the same is we can just run this command on our terminal, curl, and let me give here http. I missed h while copying. So as you can see, it is giving you the list of available connectors on my cluster, but we don't have a BigQuery sync connector here. Okay, so now it's time to download and set up the connector. So I will just go on Confluent platform and we'll go to Confluent connector hub. So this is the URL confluent.io.hub, and here let's type BigQuery. So you can see BigQuery sync connector here, and let me just click here on read more, and let's go to documentation. And here when you click on documentation, it will take you to the download and install link, where you can see, so there are two ways of installing this connector. The one is Confluent Hub client. So this is the recommended way from Confluent side. And second way is we can manually download the zip file and then install this connector. So in this session, we will install it through Confluent Hub client. And for manual download, I will just create a separate video where I'll show you how we can manually download the zip file and can install the connector on Confluent or Kafka cluster. Okay, so let me just copy this command and go to the terminal. Okay, so let's clear out everything. And yes, I am in bin folder and I'm just running this Confluent Hub command. Okay, so it is asking whether which is the installation location. So I will just give here one. Next is, do you want to install Confluent Hub components? I will just go and click buy. And let's wait. Again, it's asking for software license agreement. So I will just select buy. Yes, I agree with the agreement. And then it is asking if you want to continue or not. So I will again put buy here. Okay, so now it's downloading the BigQuery sync connector from Confluent Hub to our Confluent cluster. Okay, so I will again click here buy. It is asking whether we want to update all the required configuration. So yes, I need it. Okay, and it's completed. Okay, so one thing, since it's downloaded, we have downloaded it and installed it. So now if you want to reflect it on our cluster, we need to first restart our services. So let me just go and stop the services first. And it is just stopping all the services one by one, and then I will just start. Okay, so first it will start Zookeeper, and after that Kafka, and then schema registry, KSQL and Kafka connect services will be up one by one. Okay, so let's wait for a couple of minutes and it will be up. Okay, so all my services are up and running. Now we can validate if connector is installed successfully or not. So I will again go to Control Center and just refresh it. Okay, so you can see here BigQuery sync connector is available now. If you want to check with the command line utility, we can again go and copy this connector plugin. Sorry, we can again go and just copy this HTTP and put it here. Through curl, we can execute it, and okay, here I added this H extra. So let me just remove it this time and run it. Okay, so you can see BigQuery connector plugin is available now. So we are good to go for next step. Okay guys, so now it's time to work on point 2, 3, 4 side. These points starting from 2 to 4 are related to Google Cloud's platform side. So what we will be doing, like we have to create one service account and generate corresponding key files. Then we will create one dataset inside the BigQuery, and then we will give the required permission to that dataset. Okay, so this is Google Cloud Platform main screen. As you can see, this is the main dashboard. So I have created one account. This is my personal account, and I have created one project inside this. The project name is Compute Engine Overview, and the ID is, as you can see, Compute Engine Overview 215410. I assume that you already have this account. In case you don't have, or you are facing issues while creating this account, just let me know in the comment section. I'll just create a separate video for you. Okay, so let me just start with point 2, that is creating a service account. So what is service account actually? So service account is a special Google account that belongs to an application instead of an individual user. So in most of the cases, what we see, we create user accounts and then we give permission to that particular user to access services or resources of any application. But service account is basically related to particular application, not the users. So we can say they are the non-human accounts. So why we need this service account? In our case, our Kafka Connect application will use the service account to call and authenticate Google's APIs for BigQuery. Service account is found mainly this IAM section. You can just go and click on this service account heading. So it's just opening. Okay, so inside this you can see that some of the accounts are already created. They are the default accounts which were created when I created this project or when I logged in this console first time. So now what we will do, we will create one service account for our application. So I will just go and click on this box, create service account. You can give it any name that you want. So in my case, since we are connecting to Kafka, so I'll just give BQ hyphen Kafka hyphen GCP hyphen test. And you can see this service account ID field is populated automatically. So each service account is basically identified with the service account email, and this is the email for the service account. And I can put some description. So I can write down for testing with Kafka BigQuery app that I can give here. Okay, so then I'll just go and create here on this section, create. Okay, so it is asking for role. It's optional, but here I will just give it a project owner role. So I'll just give here it's a project owner. So it will have full access to all the resources. And once I assign this role, I will just click on continue. There are other roles we can define, we can just add other roles also, like BigQuery or App Engine, AutoML, billing, whatever you want. But for this particular use case, I am just giving it project owner. Then we will just go and click on this continue. Okay. So for authentication purpose, we will be using private public key from RSA. So we will have to create those keys here by clicking on this box, create key. And it gives us two options. Do you want it in JSON format or you want into P12 format? So recommended or preferred is JSON format. So I will just create it in JSON format. And what Google says, we have to securely store these files on our application side, because if they are lost, Google cannot recover them. Google manages the public keys, but private keys are maintained by users in this particular case. Okay, so I'm just creating this. Okay, perfect. So my keys are created, and this is my key ID. I will show you how this key JSON file looks like, but let me just put it here, done. Okay, so my service account is created, and this is my service account, like PQ Kafka GCP test. This is the file. You can see These are the different key values pair associated with the service account. Like the type of account is service account. It is giving you the project ID of the key, and this is the main property, that is the private key. So as a user, application user, I will be maintaining this key at my side, and I will authenticate the Google services with this key. Google actually manages the public key for this authentication. Now we are done with the service account creation, and we have generated the key file also. So now it's time to go in the BigQuery. So this is the BigQuery editor. So as you can see, it is similar to, if you are a Hadoop user, you must have used Hue. So it is similar to Hue or any other SQL editor. So Google gives you this screen to work on BigQuery. So this is the project. As I said in the beginning of this presentation, like this is my project, Google Compute Engine Overview, and this is my ID. So this project ID I can see here. So now we will create a data set. So what is data set? It is used to organize and control the access of your tables and views that you are going to create in the BigQuery. Okay, then how to create the data set? We will create on this project, and here I'll just go on the create data set. Okay, so I'll just give it a name, like in BQ underscore, BQ means BigQuery underscore dataset underscore Kafka. I will just keep all these options uh, default. We are not going to change anything, and I will just click on create dataset. Okay, so it's getting created. Okay, perfect. So my data set is created, and the next step is to just assign that service account that we created to this data set and assign the permission label. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just click on this share data set, and here you can see the permissions for that data set. So I'll just go and add that member BQ underscore Kafka underscore GCP. It's not coming. Let's see. BQ underscore, sorry, BQ hyphen Kafka. It's there. I was using underscore, and I'll select a role. I will make it a owner for my BigQuery service or application. Or I'm just adding it. Okay. So we are all set. So this is the connector configuration that we are going to use. So you can see this is the connector name. So we can have any name we want. So we can specify in this name property, and inside the configuration, if you see, we have like multiple properties. So the first property is connector.class. So this is the fully qualified class name from the connector jar. So this is the main class file inside the connector jar. And then we have this tasks.max property. So this is basically maximum number of the tasks we are going to use for this connector. I have specified here as 1. So next property is topics. So we can specify the input topic here, from where this connector will pick the events and post to BigQuery. So here I have specified the single topics, but we have the provision to specify multiple topics as well through topic regex property. Then I will come to sanitize topics later. First discuss this auto create tables. So what happens if table does not exist in BigQuery? So it will be automatically created if this property is enabled. If we have kept this true, the table will be automatically created in BigQuery. So the name of the topic will be same as we have for topic. So in this case we have topics, topic name is test, so table name will also be test. So what this sanitize topics does, if we enable this, it will automatically sanitize topic name before using it as a table name. Otherwise, if we make this false, if we don't enable sanitize topics property, so what it will do, it will just take the topic name as it is and create it as a BigQuery table. Then this is the next property, auto update schema. So if there are changes in the schema at source side, it will just go and modify or update the schema at BigQuery side. Then schema retriever, so this is the class that actually creates the table automatically and updates the schemas. So this is the class that performs the automatic table creation and the automatic schema updation. Next property is schema registry location. So this is the location where we have the metadata for our input events, and this metadata is stored in the Avro format. So schema registry is a separate topic, that is a separate discussion. So here we can just understand, like, this is the location where our metadata is stored. So maybe in uh, upcoming sessions I will cover what is schema registry and how we can configure that. Okay, so these last three properties are related to GCP side or BigQuery side. So project is project ID. So if you remember, this is the same project ID under which we created our BigQuery data set. And then next is data set. In this property we specify the name of our data sets. So when we will create the actual configuration file, I'll just put here the name of our data set that we created some time back, and this is the location for my key file, the BigQuery service account related key file that we downloaded on this machine. So this location points to that file. Now it's time to create the connector. So what I have done, in the Confluent home directory, I have created a new folder, that is connector underscore config, and I have placed my configuration file inside this. If you see, this is my connector configuration file, which has all the details required to integrate Kafka with BigQuery. So this is the topic. I have already created this topic and we can verify it through control center. So this topic is present on my Kafka cluster, and my BigQuery dataset that we created is bq underscore dataset underscore Kafka, just to revalidate. Same I have given here, and this is the location for my connector key file, service account related key file. Okay, so I think we are good. Our connector configuration is final. So let me just go and create the connector. So what we will do, we will use Kafka Connect REST API to create this connector. So I have already written this command. So where we will post our REST request with this configuration test.json. Okay, so we will use the curl for this purpose. So let me just copy and run this command on the terminal. Sorry, this one. Okay, okay. So yeah, it's done. Let me just go and validate if connector is up and running. So there are two ways. At this point we can just check our connector is created successfully or not. One is through terminal, we can validate, and second option is through control center. So let me just start with control center. So we need to go inside the connect services and let's see. Okay, so our connector is up and running, and you can see that's a type BigQuery sync connector, and number of tasks we gave 1, and the name of the connector that we gave in the configuration file. Now another way to check is, because as a developer you might not have access to control center. In that case we can just use the connect REST API just to check the status. So we can just go here and let me just, okay, so as you can see here it is giving the name, and state is running. We are not seeing any error message, and it's showing the type also, it's a sync connector. So it means our connector is successfully created. We have validated it through control center and also through uh, command line prompt. Okay, so now it's time to look into BigQuery side, if our data set has the table name or not, because we have given auto creation for the table as true, so table should be created automatically. So let me just go and check. Perfect, so our table is created here. Now let me just query it. Select star from bq underscore dataset underscore Kafka dot test. Okay, let me just run it. Okay, so right now since we haven't inserted any event, so it is coming as null. In the results we are not getting anything. So let me just go and write some data to in the test topic. Okay, so we will use Avro console producer, where we will be specifying the schema also. So we have the event where we have only one field and it is of type string. So let me just go and run this console producer here. Let's do it here. So we are, let me go to bin folder. Okay, so we are in the bin folder now, and I can execute my Avro console producer command here. Okay, so now we can just go and write the data. So let me just write here the first event. Okay, now second event. Okay, now let's check if those events have reached to BigQuery side or not. Okay, so as you can see, we inserted these two records here, testing the Kafka BigQuery for sorry, this one, testing the Kafka BigQuery connector, and then testing the Kafka BigQuery connector for second time. So both these events are present here. So it means our connector is running fine and it's working as expected. If you want to write more records, you can do it. You can just write it here, something like third time. Okay, and let me just post it here through console producer, Avro console producer, and I should see this third event also. Let me rerun this query. Okay, perfect. So we can see this third event also. So this is how we can integrate Kafka with BigQuery. Okay guys, I hope you liked this video. For any comments or feedback, please give your valuable inputs in comment section and don't forget to subscribe my channel.